Why didn't nobody tell me booktube was a thing? How did y'all stumble upon this? Were y'all just like actual YouTube people? And you were like, let me just see if people talk about books on here. Like, is that how that happened? Because I don't know why I never thought I could mesh the two together. But I didn't. But I recently just found out that booktube was a thing. And I found it through Cindy. Cindy, shout out to you, girl. Because you have opened my mind to a whole new world. And now, I'm about to enter my booktube era. And nobody can stop me. And I don't care if you think that I'm riding a wave. But I'm not new to this. I'm true to this, okay? I just didn't know this community existed. I feel slighted. I feel let down. Led astray. I feel like somebody pulled the wool over my eyes. They're like, no, Rocky doesn't get to know what booktube is. You had me start on Book Talk with all them unhinged Colleen Hoover lovers. Y'all disgust me. Y'all really did me a disservice. But it's okay. I found it. Shout out to Cindy. All that being said, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Rocky. I'm 24 years old. I do too many things at once. For some odd reason, it gives my brain the tickles. So I'm just like, I can do it all. And then I actually can't do it all. But I'm just a girl. I'm just a silly little girl with some silly little hobbies. And one of my hobbies is reading books that I don't remember at the end of the day. So now here I am. And what better way to make sure I'm understanding the books that I'm reading than to just rant about them online. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rant about books and probably do a couple other things, but for the sake of this video, all we care about is the books. That's it. That's all. That part done. I'm going to do a February book wrap up. I think I read maybe like 7, 8, 9-ish books. I don't know. It was some amount of books. Couldn't tell you. I don't even really remember what the hell happened this month, besides the fact that I spent multiple hours crying and some of them reading. First book that I read was You Make Me Better by Ashley Nicole, and I want y'all to know this, okay? Before I start ranting about this book, I love Ashley Nicole with my whole heart. However, this book didn't do it for me. It really did not. I've read every single book in this lady's discography, and I have loved them all. They've all gotten 3.5 and above stars. This book, however, can go in the trash. I don't like it. And I think I just might be one of the only ones. And I'm going to explain to you why. I'm going to give you the whole background of the book. Is that there is an interior designer. Her name is Callie. She is doing work for this little cute old lady. And in the midst of her walking through the house, she comes across this grumpy, grouchy ass man named Nathan Stamble, who is the contractor. And Nathan is over here talking to the little old lady crazy. So Callie's like, I don't think so. I don't like that. We don't talk to little old ladies that way. So she puts him in his place. He pretty much gets turned on by it. Childhood trauma does that to you, I guess. And so they have this back and forth of like ripping each other to shreds kind of thing. And as predictable as books can get, they end up going on a date. They hook up. This is where the book started to piss me off, because Callie hooked up with him on the first date, right? And I'm a girl's girl, okay? I'm a whore. I am not going to judge a single person for hooking up with somebody on the first date, because I don't even get to the first date and I'll be busting this thing wide open. Okay, if we both want it, there's no reason to beat around the bush. So yeah, she hooked up with him on the first date. Cool. But then she got it in her itty pea-brain head that the man hated her. So she ignored all his calls. She was like, I'm going to pick up the phone and he's going to tell me that I'm this no good, dirty whore.
Dirty hoe.
I'm just not going to pick up the phone. BFFR. If this man did not want to talk to you, he would not be calling you multiple times. He would do what a man does and he would ignore you. You would literally have gotten ghosted. But no, she was so delusional in that sense that it just made me mad. But they end up having a happily ever after. And in the midst of the book, you get told about his childhood trauma, and she talks about the relationship between his parents, because it was a domestic abuse relationship. You see Callie continuously put him in his place and even like drill to his thick skull that he shouldn't feel the way that he feels about his mom. So obviously he hates his dad because he's been watching his dad put his hands on his mom his whole life. So he's like, fuck you. But he also has like negative feelings towards his mom because he thinks that she's just this weak person who has just stayed in. He just thinks she loves the dad down and is just staying despite the abuse, right? He doesn't really understand the intricacies of the whole domestic abuse relationship. And Callie's like, you don't get to feel like that. Which also kind of pissed me off a little bit because instead of actually acknowledging the fact that he had trauma from witnessing his mom get abused, she just kind of like put her hands on him. And that's another big thing about this book that pissed me off, is that this man was like, I can't handle a submissive woman, right? He's like, I don't want that in any kind of relationship because I see my mom doing that. So he's like, if it comes to my relationships, I want a woman who can like push back a little, which is cool. I understand. I get that to a T. However, Callie repeatedly puts her hands on this man. Like, it might be in a joking manner, but whenever he's like taking shots at her joking, she's just like, and I don't like that at all. I'm not a fan of it. And that was like the big disconnect for me in this book, is that the whole premise is that this man is so upset with his mom and he hates his dad, and they end up all going to like fucking family therapy because of the whole dynamic. But he's in a relationship with a girl that puts her hands on him. Like, make that make sense to me, please, because it's not clicking in my head. So I was not a fan of this book. But like I said, they did have a happily ever after. Everybody's all in love and cool. It was an okay book. I, however, could not mentally handle that disconnect between him witnessing abuse and then her putting his hands on him. Yeah, you know what I mean. Book number 2 was Goal by Alexandria House. This book, it really didn't do it for me either. I promise there are going to be some books in here that I actually did enjoy. I, however, did not enjoy this one just because how it was written. Premise of the story is that there's this guy. His name is Malik Jones. He is a hockey player and he's all about hockey. He's like, I don't care about anything else. But he's in a relationship. Fortunately, some stuff falls into his lap and he has to take on more responsibilities than what he planned on. Causes other issues in his life, but like ultimately he dealt with them, and the book ends in like this happily ever after. And this is kind of where like spoilers come in. I don't know if they would be considered spoilers, but the unforeseen problems is that his dad passed away and he took in his half siblings. So he ends up becoming like, you know, big brother. He didn't even know these kids existed, but now he has to be a parent to them. His girlfriend, not with it at all. She hates the whole idea. She's like, why would you do something like this? Why would you do that? She's like, I don't like this. It was just me and you forever, Pookie. So she like hates the idea of him taking in these kids. But she's like a raging bitch about it. Like, it's not even moderately like questioning if he can handle responsibility. She's just like, no, I don't want it. If you're gonna take these kids in, then you have to get a nanny. You see where we're going now? So they hire a nanny. Nanny's name is Nuri. Okay, Nuri is a plus-size girly who was a teacher, but she went through something traumatic, and she's like, I can't do this anymore. And she's just like, gotta go. And I completely understand it, right? When you go through something traumatic at work, even though like you love your job and you went to school for your job, or like you studied for your job, but then something is like too big to handle, you're like, I have to find something else. So that's kind of what she did. And she ended up being a nanny for Mr. Malik and loves the kids down. Like, they form a relationship. Malik is struggling to form a relationship with these kids, which is like understandable because he's kind of trying to keep him at an arm's length. And Nora's like, no, like, you gotta get to know him. Malik is still all about hockey, but now he's trying to take care of these kids. Tasha, the girlfriend, is a raging fucking bitch. And then Nuri is the nanny that has been doing her due diligence, making sure the kids get to school, fed, blah, blah, blah. Right, she's doing a great job. Tasha's still on her, get these kids out of here, shit. So she pretty much gives him an ultimatum. She's like, it's either the kids or it's me. And he like picks the kids, and then she like breaks up with him and leaves. I don't remember if he broke up with her or she broke up with him. Either way, she was out of that fucking house, right? He picked the kids regardless. He was like, this is my responsibility. I'm gonna do it. And she's like, fuck. And leaves. So then, predictable moment, Nuri and Malik end up, you know, finagling. They end up becoming a thing, and I don't remember much about this book after that, besides the fact that there's like a happily ever after. Like they become this like great big fucking family. It was written so weirdly. Like I really did not like how it was written. It was very choppy. Some of those chapters were short. Some of them ended abruptly. It was a lot of telling instead of showing. Like she was telling us who these characters were instead of like showing us through the actions, and I didn't like that. That made the book like very boring. Like it was not a fun read. I'm explaining it and it sounds like, ooh, that's juicy, but like you have no reason to care about any of these characters. There's pretty much like no character development either, besides like Malik. Some of it, like his actions with the kids, is very showing instead of telling, but everything else is telling instead of showing. I honestly think that the book could have been a novella because nothing important actually happened. It really was not that interesting. I, however, am a grade A storyteller. So, there's that. I know that I said that there are books in here that I actually liked. However, this will not be one of them. The next book that I read was Savvy Sheldon Feels Good as Hell. I was misled. Do y'all see the cover of this book? This makes you think you're going to go in reading a story about this plus size girl who's like taking it back, okay? Like she's becoming this badass boss bitch and you have no choice but to root for her. Even the reviews, it's like you have no choice but to root for Savvy Sheldon. No! No! Period. That's not how this book made me feel. It honestly gives fatphobic vibes. I don't think that this was the intention of the book. However, as somebody who is very into like anti-diet culture and like preventing fat phobia and shit like that, that's how this book read. It gave the only way you can be fat and acceptable is if you eat healthy and you work out. That's pretty much it. I should probably actually tell you about the book though before I start ranting. That's fine. So the whole premise of the book is that there's this girl, her name is Savvy Sheldon. She has been in this long-term relationship with this ain't shit douche nozzle dude. One day, they're literally sitting at the dinner table, and he goes, Savvy, you're too fat. You've let yourself go, and it's time for me to upgrade. This, rightfully so, fucks with her head, and she's like, I'm gonna have a revenge body. I'm gonna change every single thing about myself because this man told me that I was too big and he needed an upgrade. So that's what she does. She like throws away all her unhealthy foods. She picks up all these physical activities. Even her friend group like joins in as a way to support her. However, the friend group was consistently like, you're perfect the way you are. However, Savvy couldn't see that. Does all these things. She changes her hair. I think she even gets contacts. She just does a lot of things to change who she is because of this man's comment. And again, understandable because it messed with her head. However, the way that it's written, it's not giving girl takes her power back. It's giving girl gives all her power to a guy. That it's really not what it's giving. Also, this book is said to be a rom-com. There was no real true rom, and there was absolutely no com. I was not kicking and giggling and like wishing that I could see what happened next. I was like, I'm finishing this book to finish this book. So the book really, it should not have had a romance at all. The romance, I can't even remember the guy's name because he really just does not matter in the grand scheme of things. She sees him when he's walking his dog and she thinks he's this homeless man. And then the night that the ex-boyfriend broke up with her, she sees him outside and she's like, I don't have any money for you. Like screaming at this man because she thinks he's homeless. Then she bumps into him again and again tells him that she thinks that he's homeless. But he's not. He's just like a contractor or something of that nature. So he was just dirty after working all day, but she just thought the man was homeless. That's also another problem because you just thought this black man walking his dog was fucking homeless. Not only are you fatphobic, but you got some anti-blackness going on too. Cool. That's none of my business though, because I didn't enjoy the book. There's also a lot of cooking. So Savvy absolutely loves to cook. She got it from her grandmother. She'd be throwing down in the kitchen, as she should. However, there were like pages and pages and pages of just her waxing poetic about what she was cooking. And it just got so redundant to the point where I was like, I don't care. Like, I really don't care about what she's cooking. What the author should have done, in my personal opinion, is taken the recipes that she used and put them at the back of the book as a way to like get the reader more engaged with the book that they were reading. Be like, oh, like I like this book so much that I can now recreate some of the meals that Savvy was cooking. Right? I think that would have been cool. However, when she got to the point where she started talking about cooking again for the 15th time, I was just skipping pages. I was just like skimming, trying to find where it ended. Because it was just so redundant. There's also a whole bunch of tennis. So I guess she savvy played tennis in high school and got back into tennis when she was on her whole revenge body thing. And it was pages about tennis exercises, about them playing tennis. I don't give a fuck anymore. After like the fourth boom, thwack, boom, thwack, I'm like, you're not Serena. You're not that girl for real. Like, I'm so happy that you picked up your high school hobby. Cut it. I'm done. Don't tell me anything else about tennis, please. So I did not enjoy this book either. To a book that I actually did enjoy, The Banned Bookshop of Maggie Banks. Originally, I think I gave this book maybe 3 stars, but the more that I think about it, the more that I want to bump it up to 4. Because I actually did enjoy it. I think it took me a little bit to get into the book because it went slowly at first, but then I got invested about like who Maggie was and like where she was going in life. So, premise of the book. Maggie Banks is the kind of girl who jumps from job to job to job. She does have her degree. I can't remember what the degree is in, but she did go to school. She got her degree, worked in like these office jobs, things of that nature, but none of them were... They didn't itch her brain the way that she wanted them to, right? They were just kind of filler jobs that she didn't enjoy that much, besides the people that she found at the jobs. You can tell that Maggie just kind of loves bringing people together and fostering connections between people. But that didn't translate to her job-wise, because she ended up falling upon hard times and had to move back in her parents, and this was obviously like upsetting to her, and she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do next, don't know what the next moves are, I don't really know what my place in this world is. So Bessie for the Restie calls her up and she's like, girl, I'm about to go on maternity leave, do you want to come like head up my bookshop? And Maggie says yes, because she's like, I can use these next couple of months to figure out exactly what it is that I'm going to do with my life. And as she's heading up this bookshop, my girl breaks some rules, creates a community, and she uncovers the town's dirty little secret. So the bookshop that Maggie headed up was a shrine to this weird guy named Edward Bell. So the town itself was called Bell River after Edward Bell, and pretty much everything in this town has to do with him. The whole town itself is the shrine to Edward Bell, because I guess he's like this really famous author, and his grandson, question mark, was like the hell of the Bell Society Foundation. So literally everything was Edward Bell. It was giving cult vibes. Very weird. Very concerning. If I was a black woman walking into this town that was dedicated to a white man, I would have left immediately. No questions asked. I digress though. Maggie came in like a trooper. She headed up the store. Her friend went on maternity leave. And she finds herself in a position where the grandson, question mark, is like, Maggie, I don't want you selling my grandfather's stuff. Like, you're not doing his story justice. So he takes out all the books about Edward Bell and like all the Edward Bell weird shit from the bookstore. Mind you, the bookstore only sold Edward Bell stuff and classics, like books that were from Jane Austen era and before. Like, they were not allowed to sell anything other than classics before a certain point of time. So taking away the Edward Bell stuff pretty much ensured that the bookshop was going to get closed down. Right? And Maggie was like, I can't do this to Bestie. I have to figure out a way to make money and ensure the shop will still be standing. So what does she do? She breaks some rules. She gets a whole bunch of books that she's not supposed to sell, and she sells them under the table. She comes up with this idea to take the classics and put a twist on it. So, like, they took Moby Dick, but they made it into like a romance novel, like a super smutty romance novel. And she would have like super famous authors come in and read how they like rewrote sections of the book to fit a new theme. I think the idea is dope as fuck. Like, if somebody actually does that in real life, I would love to go to that. Like, imagine all the dick jokes that you get from Moby Dick. That tickles my brain so well. So she's doing all of this under the table. And she also creates like a friendship relationship with one of the guys in the book. I don't really remember his name. But the romance was not important. Like, this was not labeled as a romance at all, which I absolutely love because the romance was not important. Like, there were little bits and pieces where it's like, oh, like they're creating a relationship, but it didn't take forefront. The whole premise of the book was Maggie finding herself, and she did indeed find herself because she found it through the community of breaking the rules and having like these authors come in and selling book paraphernalia. Like, it was super cool to see this lady who doesn't know what to do next figure it out. Like, through the book you find her becoming more sure of herself, and then in the end of the book it translates to her kind of being like a liaison for the bell hooks. It's a lot, and I don't want to give away like too many spoilers. I gave away enough, but I love this book. Like I said earlier, like I originally gave it 3 stars, but I give it 4 because it was labeled correctly, right? It was labeled as fiction. So it wasn't labeled as like a romance, even though there was romance in it. And it's about community. It's about finding your place, finding your footing, understanding the parts of you that other people seem to find a problem with, but making it work for you, right? Like, people kind of assume that she didn't really have work ethic because she left jobs. They assume that she just was goofing around all the time and had like no aim. But really what she was is she's kind of like a community leader. Like, she's somebody that has the ability to bring people together in the goofiest ways. Like, it does not matter what the topic is. It does not matter how it happens. She can take people from any age, any background, any personality trait, and mesh them together in a way that makes sense. So, I don't know. I love the book. Maybe it just hits a little too close to home because I'm 24 and I don't know what the fuck that I'm doing with my life. So I'm like, I want to be like Maggie. I want to find a way to take my personality and my skills and all the traits that I have and like make it work for me. And I have not found that yet. So I don't know, maybe the book just hit home. The last couple of books that I read were from the Mom-Com series. There are 4 authors, 4 books. Premise of the books is that there is a group of 4 single moms. There's Liv, Dylan, Shayla, and Delia. They decided that they were going to move into this like broken down brownstone together and raise all their kids. So take it like Fuller House and Cheaper by the Dozen, but like times it by 10. It's a whole bunch of kids in one house with 4 moms. So the first book is about Liv, who has just recently got divorced because the husband cheated on her with a nanny. Fuck that man. And he really did not take care of his kids. And she also has a boss who cannot function by himself. So, the boss, who can't live without Liv, his name is Beckett, he has this image in the media that he hates kids, apparently, right? He just keeps falling upon bad luck, and every time he's captured, it just takes the tone that he just absolutely hates children. So, his dad tells him, you need to fix this ASAP. Do it by marrying a single mom. Who is a single mom? Liv. So what do? Get married? As they should. So they end up like accidentally getting married because they were drunk. But because that happened, Beckett ended up having to move in to the brownstone, the broken down brownstone, with the other 4 women and like 10 kids. So it was crazy. It was funny. I absolutely loved it. Beckett went from being this grumpy grouch of a man to being like, that's my wife! That's my wife! And I love a man that can scream from the rooftops. That's his girl. Okay? Loved, lived, down. Ended up forming like this really cute relationship with her kids, and they live happily ever after. Honestly, guys, I got so tired of hearing myself talk that I just sped through these last couple books, but I still talked about them. YOLO. So, book number 2 is about Dylan, who is a crystal girly. Okay, she believes in auras, she believes in the universe, and she's like, let's just go with the flow, right? Love her. She is such a calm, cool, chill, collected person. However, the universe that she believes in so much, it leads her to the bed of this super fine bubble booty baseball player. The baseball player is like just as obsessed with her. It was literally like, it was lust at first sight. He's like, I think I want her. And then he got her to the point where she got pregnant. And all the while, because this happens, right, he gets her knocked up. He has to move into the brownstone too. So now we have 4 women, shit ton of kids, and now 2 men. Another one bites the dust. And a baby on the way. Wow. And also, Dylan has a 13-year-old kid. I think he's 13. Something like that. He's a teenager. And you know teenagers are dickheads. So he's giving the man a hard time. So this man ends up winning everybody over. And I love that for him, right? Dylan deserves a man who just loves her down. And her son deserves a man that's actually in his life. Because Dylan ended up getting pregnant by like this super rich man. And his parents were like, we want nothing to do with that bastard child of yours. They were like, get rid of it. But she did not, because she loves her son. So the guy, Courtney, that's his name, because apparently I forgot to tell y'all that. Courtney, he loved her down. He took care of her son. He's doing his damn thing. Book number 3, about Shayla and Rowan. So Shayla she's a very terrified mom. She's the kind of mom that's like, no sports. You need to have Velcro on your shoes. You can't have anything that has like red dye 40 or artificial sugars. Like, it has to be, she's just health nut, okay? And it happened that way because the guy that she married pretty much took away her joy. Like, she used to be the jump off of a building into a pool kind of girl. But she ended up marrying this man, took her joy away, and then he had the audacity to die from cancer. And that terrified her even more because she's like, wow, like, there's so many things that I can't control. Let me try and control absolutely everything that I can. So that turns into her being like this terrified person, and she literally is like no one. Like, she's this big ass fun sucker, but can't live that way forever. Mr. Fun himself, Mr. Rowan Slick Parker, comes in and he like turns her life upside down. He gets her to like let loose a little and like actually start to enjoy life. He ends up being the favorite hockey player of her son, and she's a physical therapist. So Rowan ends up getting hurt in one of the hockey games, and Beckett from book 1, Mr. Bossman himself, is like playing fucking matchmaker, and he's like, Shayla, go be his physical therapist. Go do it. So he talks Shayla into being the physical therapist of Rowan, and Rowan is like, oh girl, you're hot. He's like, I want to touch you everywhere. And his mouth says it all. Like, this man's mouth is slick. They don't call him slick for nothing. Okay, he lets it all out. So she ends up being his physical therapist. Obviously, all professional boundaries are broken. They end up smashing. So many times. Smashing. And he doesn't even have to do the work of trying to get the son to love him, because the son already loves him. When the son found out that Shayla could be the physical therapist of everyone, he was like, Mom, you'd be such a cool mom if you did this. So then she really did it. She really was like, okay, I guess I'll be his physical therapist. And then they end up fucking and falling in love. And that's the end of book 3. Book 4, I started it, but I have not finished. And it's essentially about Delia, who is the resident man-hater. Like, all of these men are moving into the house and making her friends happy. And she's like, all right, cool. I, however, don't need one. Keep it to yourself. But Beckett, from book 1, is playing matchmaker again. So we're gonna see how that goes. Those were a lot of words to wrap up the books that I read this month. I'm so sorry I started this video off with all the books that I hated. But we ended on a good note, because this mom-com series, I am like eating it up. If I had more time to read it, I absolutely would. But school, work, life, it be beating me up. I'll probably end up putting the 4th book into my March wrap up. Or honestly, maybe I can do like an unhinged girly kind of thing and explain the whole dynamic between all the families. I think I might do that one, because these books make my brain tingle. I really only picked up the 1st book because I was like, I need something mindless. It was literally a day where I spent 2.5 hours sobbing, and I was like, I need something to get me out of my head. So I picked up the Mother, I think it's, the 1st book is Mother Faker. So I picked up Mother Faker, and here I am, right, eating these things up. But that is the end of my February wrap-up. Feel free to follow me on Goodreads so you can see all the crazy comments that I leave in books. You can follow me on Instagram. I hate this part of the video. I hate the where I'm like, follow me on everything. But you can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Goodreads. What else? You don't have to follow me at all. Who knows if you even got this far in the video? I don't know. But I hope you enjoyed. Bye.